This is an A24 film, so A24 fans, do your thing. Attack. Get on it. Watch this film. This is all Dirt Road's taste of salt. Um, A24 has a rabid fan base, so the best thing that could have happened for Raven Jackson right now is for her film to have been picked up by A24. Although the worst thing that could have happened for A24 was for them to forget that they had this film and then release this film while they're also trying to Oscar campaign their films, since, they did manage 2 Best Picture nominations this year. At least they can commiserate with the production team behind the Iron Claw and be like, well, we kind of got forgotten about. They forgot about us. Towards the end of the year. Interestingly, I've seen this film twice, and I'm just now reviewing it. I saw it once because I'm a Spirit Awards voter. This film was provided to me without accessibility. I tried to reach out to A24. Basically, they told me to fuck off. Then I found out this film was in the iTunes store, and I found it with accessibility, so I paid to rent my own accessibility. That's where I'm at in life. This is why I'm here on this channel talking about blind people and audio description as a blind film critic, because I was provided the film, but I had to go pay for my own accessibility. That existed, by the way, when I tried to contact A24 and I was like, hey, there's a couple films you have that are available for consideration. A24 is usually really good about making accessibility. Is there any way that I could get the audio description tracks for these films? Just crickets. I got like a response from somebody who never responded ever again. Be like, I'll look into it. And then I was like, hey, so how's that looking into it going? Anything? Thoughts? Hello. I waited a couple weeks, and then I just said, you know what? Fuck it. This guy died. Or I even sent an email. I was like, basically, your non-response to me is A24 telling me that they'd rather blind people not watch their films. And he didn't even respond to that. I couldn't even bait him with that level of an email to respond to anything. I was like, okay, well, I'm not holding it against Jackson or any of the other people. I love the fact that she cast Moses Ingram in this. She got so much shit for being great in a Star Wars series. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Black in a Star Wars series. That's what she got shit for. Because she was great in a Star Wars series. Moses Ingram, I do my own little like silly awards. I remember I definitely had her as like one of my breakout artists for TV that year, and then also I listed her, I think it's at least a runner-up for a limited series. Winner? She was either like a winner or runner-up for Best Supporting Actress. Anyway, so I'm a big fan of her continued career and the fact that she's in this. Love it. This is a film that I struggle with. It's not my favorite type of thing to have a film that wanders such narratively, that has such like an indecisive, unclear narrative. A little bit like Tree of Life, when that came out. And you're like, where are we going with this? The Fountain was another one where we're just sort of commiserating on life, and it's a little bit meandering. But this one is in a completely different. Those films are both from directors who thought they could stylize the ever-loving shit out of you, and that you would, and that you wouldn't notice. You'd just be like, "Oh my god, it's just so pretty. It's so stylized." Darren Aronofsky. But no, what Raven Jackson does here is the complete opposite. She whips into simplicity mode, and after my first viewing, one of the things that I did is I immediately put this film on my list for sound design. I love the sound design in this film. I feel like I'm constantly outdoors, more so than any other film. For anybody who's ever been outside with like cicadas and crickets at night and just things that make noise out sort of in swampier areas, I felt like I was outdoors. I was just like, wow, this is amazing sound design. This is, they captured the realism, um, and it just felt so, such like an immersive experience that way. The audio description is not so immersive. It's close. It puts me in the proximity of being immersed without being immersive. It focuses a lot on the the audio description done by Deluxe, and I've already forgotten the narrator's name. I apologize, but it's a Deluxe narration. Um, it's a really nice narration. I don't really have any problems with it. It's just there's a difference between like over and above and exceptional, and that was fine. And that was fine. Like I didn't really ever question what was going on with the film, but I did feel like that there were times where if the film wanted to go a little bit further and bring us in a little bit more and rope us in, with a little bit more attention to detail and a little bit more with what Raven's choices were, I feel like it could have. This film doesn't have a strong in an age where pretty much every film is former assassin, family killed, and has to go out on a plot, or what I'm saying? Like we always have like these like really concise, obvious storylines. This All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt is much more of like a meditation on a life than it is anything else. Lots of just sitting in quiet, just enjoying somebody's company, which you never see in film because it's like it's something we do in life all the time. We just sit and enjoy someone's company. But in film, it's like directors don't dare to do that because they're worried about boring their audiences. Well, what Raven does is a trade-off, is that she does that, but she does it in a film that runs under 90 minutes. So it's pretty impossible for you to be bored by the film. Like she tries to keep it moving. But there are a lot of scenes that are just two people maybe sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide throw. Anyway, I gotta keep it interesting. Subscribe for random singing in my videos. Um, it's an interesting film. It feels very A24 because it feels very sort of auteur driven, like Raven's got ideas and Raven's going to go on to do great things, and we're going to look back on this as being almost like a proof of concept as a debut filmmaker, much the way that we look back at Following for Christopher Nolan now. Nobody thinks Following is his greatest film. However, it's an interesting film, and it's a very interesting film when you look at his entire filmography. Raven Jackson here really made me think immediately. I was like, oh, if this woman had directed Where the Crawdads Sing, it might have actually been good. She seems to like kind of understand that area and that life, and to some, you know what I'm saying? Like just the immersive experience I would have had instead of whatever the hell that was. I read the book first, so I get to be a little bit more angry than everybody else. So everybody else was like, no, the movie is fine. Did you read the book? No, I don't read. Don't talk to me. Yeah, it's an interesting film that I've now seen twice. But A24 they should really think about sending out accessibility for screeners. They are basically the top sort of awards contender at this point, in terms of really sort of honing their craft and being able to understand and get films nominated and get films sort of across the finish line. I'm surprised it didn't happen more this year across the board. I'm surprised they couldn't get the Iron Claw, that they dropped the ball on that. In previous years, especially like the Everything Everywhere All at Once year, they had a couple different films that were nominated. So this year that was kind of like Netflix, which had a couple films that were nominated. It's good to be at A24. like I said, they have a cult following. So there are people who will watch this whether they like this type of film or not, simply because it says A24 on it. So that's great for Raven. More people will be familiar with her work, and I'm really excited to see what she does next. This is okay. It's just not my thing. I love films with a strong plot structure and narrative to them. These films I call them almost like proof of concept for a director, in that it's showing off the kind of director you want to be and can be, should a studio give you a more budget, hire you for a project, anything like that. And lots of directors have first features that look like this and go on to do hopefully great things. So what I'm really excited for is Raven's next project. I want to see where she goes from here. Sometimes people really start to find their voices as they continue on. There's a giant leap, for example, in Wes Anderson from Bottle Rocket to his next film, in terms of style, in terms of finding himself as a director. It definitely explores itself far far better in successive films. It's really interesting to watch directors in their early work sort of move forward. It's weird to think about like David Fincher starting off with like Alien 3, you know, and then seeing the work that he's done afterwards, but then you always know he did Alien 3, you know? Like, it's always out there. It's something that you can't shake, and you're like, that's a weird first film. Well, he was a music video director, so people were like, oh, he'd be really good for this. You know, I mean, obviously everything he's done since then is nowhere near what Alien 3 is, so it's obviously not really the kind of director he wanted to be. So I consider first features to be incredibly interesting because of it introduces me to a director, and their stamp and their flavor and how they like to sit in a shot, how they like to direct their actors. Are they okay with silence, or do they need constant noise and conversation to carry a film? Like, how do they do it? How do they edit? Are they somebody who believes that every film needs to be 3 hours, or can they do a 90-minute film really well? Do they need a lot of flash and pizzazz, or are they just going to do a contained, nice story about a girl listening to some crickets at night with some people around her? And it's just a really simple film, and it's nice. Not my favorite film of the year, but again, I think there's a lot of craft here. So I've seen it twice for reasons of accessibility. So I truly get to comment on this. I'm not violating any Spirit Award rules at this point, because I'm not even reviewing the screener version. I actually rented this off of the Apple Store. Thanks, A24, for putting this in the Apple Store, charging me $6 for it. Anyway, that's it. This is my All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt review. Let's take it as it is. I love the sound design. This is definitely going to be on my top 10 sound designs of the year. Both times, I could honestly, I don't know what it is, but I was so captivated by the realism of being outdoors and feeling like there were actually bugs around me. Like, the sound was more immersive than anything else in this film. Maybe that's my special sauce as a blind film critic, is to be able to comment on that, on the sound design. So I don't have eyes that can comment on color grading. Be like, oh, I loved how she used the oranges and the reds and the color grading. I have no idea if she uses oranges or reds. I'm giving All Those Dirt Roads Taste of Salt a B+. I think I think it's a fine film. I think people will like it. It's an indie film. Mass audiences. If you know what? If your favorite films of the year were John Wick and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, this is not your film. It's unlikely to be your film. But if you have the patience and the quietness to sit in a film, if you sat through some of these foreign language films like Perfect Days and Monster, and you're looking for another film to watch, go for this. This is absolutely for people who just love to sit in films like that, and appreciate them. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I have a website, MacTheMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on X, Threads, or Instagram, Mac the Movie Guy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know who has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it for me today. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.